Hi, I'm Telannia Norfar, and I am a proud AFT member through Oklahoma City Public Schools. And I really want to encourage you to become a member too. And I'm so glad that they reached out to me to do this webinar, and I'm so happy to share with you how to successfully start the year while distance teaching. When we did this live, there was a really great Nearpod that we went through to experience distance teaching. I really want to encourage you to go to this bit.ly link at the top, bit.ly/AFT self-paced, and follow along with me and get to the second slide. And what will happen is you will discover this great poll to ask you how you're feeling. And when I did this live with everyone, it was really great to see that we're all really probably losing our mind to a degree, but at the same time, just like it's a lot. It's a weight. And so hopefully before the end of me sharing with you my practices, you'll move into the okay and good mode. Please know that you don't need to feel necessary to write everything down as you watch this webinar or feel like you're missing anything. I'm going to give you this great resource at the end of a Wakelet where I'm walking you through everything again, but with the Canvas integration in the background. So let's talk a little bit about me and just help you know my story. So I've been teaching and learning at Northwest class in high school for about 12 years now, teaching for 15, and I'm department chair there. And I just love connecting with kids and using student-centered strategies and technology to increase learning. I've done a lot. OCTM and past president, and I've won the Oklahoma Presidential Award for Mathematics and Science Teaching, and I've wrote a book. But the biggest thing is I've realized recently that I've actually taught or been a student from a distance for 20 years, and that's pretty kind of crazy to think about. But I've did a lot of things wrong and I've done a lot of things right. And I want to share more of the right with you. So I'm going to go over these 6 steps basically to successfully start. And it's kind of like moving us through how kids start, like even leave their home, get to school, that normal school route. So we're going to kick off with some tips about guiding them to even get basically to the building correctly. And then what does it take to get them into the Google Classroom correctly? And then how we can really like connect with them virtually like we used to connect with them in person. Then moving into like the teaching part to wrap it up. Some tips about keeping it short and sweet and the activities that you should look at and how kids should close out the lesson. And so let me go ahead and unpack these 6 tips. But again, I want you to realize that in the wakelet that I'm going to give you at the end, it's going to help you as well. So don't feel like you have to take a lot of notes. So first, let me show some tips about guiding them. Remember, kids used to get on a bus or they used to walk or they had their parents drop them off to school. Well, now they're going to open up their computer and they're going to go to Canvas. And when they go into Canvas, they're going to see all of these different classes. Help them visually and with words that they're familiar with. So, for instance, on the left is an example of a high school or middle school look where you're going to put the name of the class and the time block as a way. Or you can start with a time block and then put the name and then a picture. But if you're elementary and you have them all day but you have different like parts in the day, well, then you're going to have like your homeroom as sort of the place where they know to begin. And so they need to go into there first. And then you got your English time and your math time and, those other times. But you may want to, again, make sure you like have a really definite part of where they know they click there first. And then you move into, okay, they clicked on there. How do they make sure they join you so they can see you? How can they really get into your classroom? So once they click in there, you need a really visual picture that basically lets them know, join the class, like get here, or join the Google Meet. Basically, this is your way of helping them get to your class. Now, I know, again, you're looking at this, you're like, oh, how do I get my Canvas to look like that? In the Wakelet, I have videos, I have templates. Like I already have a template where you can change out and you can move in your own pictures and buttons. All of that is inside Wakelet. The big part of this webinar is I'm trying to help you see the totality, and then the tools will make more sense. So again, if you're like, how do I get my Canvas like that? You're going to get the Wakelet. The big piece is, remember, I need this process to help my students. They used to get on a bus. Now I need them to know to get to Canvas. In Canvas, now I need them to maneuver in the class, so they need to know how to click on the right part in the dashboard. And then once they click in there, like you see on this part, now I need to join so that I can visually see my teacher. And then once they're in our Google Meet, it's showtime. It's time for us to connect. It's time for us to be together and be happy. So here's some things that might be hard, because I know some of us are not used to being on cameras and we're really uncomfortable with this. But it's our class. They need to see our faces. They need to see our smiles. They need to feel our presence. So I know you really possibly want to keep that camera off. Don't turn it on, and try to make sure you're in the part of your room where you have some really good lighting so that your face can be seen well. And get a bulletin board and a calendar in the background. Just like your classroom, have the display. You don't need a virtual background, you need the real background. Make your kids feel like they're at school as much as possible. And we did a great little a collaborate board together. And so I encourage you to go to this bit.ly link at the top so you can see what everyone said live. But at the same time, if you are joining the self-paced, put some answers in there. And then come back and look again later and see how the answers have expounded. Let's get this even bigger and sharing more ideas of how you greet kids. Whatever way you greeted kids from afar, you can do virtually. There's just a couple of switches. So you can fist bump, you can still high five. I'm going to grab them like this and tell them I love them. Make the eye contact. It's so funny how even if you're not necessarily really looking, just the fact that you're like, oh, I see you, they feel it. Now, here's where I have some good news and I have some bad news. Good news is so many, almost all of them, all of your teaching practices that you did in person converts to virtual. There is one caveat, and that's where I have the bad news. Some of our teaching practices were, if we're honest, they were kind of stretching it. They don't convert so well virtually. I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm just saying that it's more amplified in how it's not as successful when it's virtual. So, for example, if you're a teacher who's very used to talking for a very, very long time, and demonstrating for a really long time, that's a hard time to do from a distance. So that's why I want to bring you into, now we're going to teach them. We loved on them. We said hi. We're so glad they're there. Now let's teach them, and let's keep it short and sweet on our talking. I have discovered that even as an adult, when I'm talking to someone, if they're over 5 minutes, I'm starting to have a hard time remembering what was said when they keep going. It's just too much information to process. So remember, keep it sweet. Give them just enough to get started with the activity that you need them to do. So this is really the heart of virtual world. It's the students doing the work, the students being active, the students driving it. They can still even do group work from a distance with small other Google Meets that they can actually join. And pretty soon, Google Meets is going to have the breakout room option just like Zoom. So again, I know some of you are like, oh, I want that option. FYI, Zoom charges a lot to do that option, and Google is free and it's already doing the provision privacies we need. So it's coming. There's a few workarounds. Again, in the Wakelet, you can find some tips. But let's talk about those activities. So I gave them just enough to get to work, and now I'm sending them to work. So there's in the Wakelet some wonderful activity ideas that you can do, but I want to unpack a few. So one example is probably something you're even like thinking you're gonna miss. I love the way kids would like draw something. And sometimes kids drew whether you wanted to or not. Now they can draw, show it up on your screen. You can quickly scan and see everyone's drawing. It's a beautiful, quick activity. You can even do fish bowls and great discussions in small groups from a distance. Again, it's the same methodology, it's just now in the virtual space. Also, Jamboard that you're seeing here is a Google app that lets them write on the screen. You can still have them do the writing that you used to make printed copies of, they can do it virtually now. The big thing is they're doing the work and they're doing the work most of the time. Have them understand that they're going to be working and you're going to select some of them to actually present their understanding. And that brings me to the closing part. Typically, teachers are the ones driving so much of the work. But in a workshop model, which is what the structure is, the kids present more than the teacher. And so you have them track their learning process, see how they move through the learning process, scale of the day, have them share out their understanding, have them possibly know about some homework. I would highly recommend homework that they just got to think about something, not necessarily that they got to go do more work. It's going to be a lot that they're already doing in the day with you. Let them just think about stuff to bring for the next day. So, thank you so much for listening to my tips. Now I get to share with you with that wonderful Wakelet. Here's the bit.ly link for it. I'm also sharing with you my social media handle. I am everywhere. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Snapchat. I'm on TikTok. Now, I'm on all those places. I wouldn't say I do something in all of those places, but I am usually checking it out. Twitter, the most. Instagram and Facebook is kind of even. But again, whatever is your social media jam, follow me, and I usually am posting things that I'm doing in my classroom. And then if you're sort of like, I ain't that into social media, you can go check out my website. It's a blog that I sometimes try to update at least once a week, if sometimes it might be every couple of weeks, of what's happened in the classroom. Now, I have heard that somehow it was coming up locked if you were on the school network. That may have just been a fluke. Sometimes that happens as they're fixing something. It wasn't that way before. But just be aware if you do get a roadblock, it may be because you're on the school network. It definitely will work if you're on your home network or a non-filtered network. So it has been an honor, and I cannot wait to give you more tips in the future. Enjoy your day.